Hi, welcome back to our library. Today we are going to show you a study in Scarlet. This is one of the first editions, printed in 1892, a Sherlock Holmes story novel by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, illustrated by George Hutchinson. A Study in Scarlet is one of the only four full-length novels in the Arthur Conan Doyle's original canon. It was the first work of detective fiction to incorporate the magnifying glass as an investigative tool, a signature for Sherlock Holmes. Another signature is the docked deerstalker hat, which actually isn't in the books but was popularized in plays based on Sherlock Holmes stories. In this story, Sherlock and Watson meet for the first time to eventually become the most famous duo in history. They become roommates at 221B Baker Street. The book title derives from a speech given by Holmes to his friend, Watson, on the nature of his work. He's a consulting detective, and he describes the story's murder investigation as his study in Scarlet. There's the scarlet thread of murder running through the colorless skein of life, and our duty is to unravel it and isolate it and expose every inch of it. The book continues with Detective Lestrade telegramming Sherlock to come help with investigation. Sherlock and Watson go to investigate and see that a American, Enoch Drebber, has been murdered. He deduces that the victim died from poison and supplies a description of the murderer. Underneath the victim, they find a woman's gold wedding ring. Detective Gretson visits Holmes and Watson, telling him that he has arrested a suspect. The victim was a drunk, and the night before his murder, he attempted to kiss the daughter of the owner of the boarding house that he was staying in. He got evicted from it. Drebber came back later that night and attempted to grab the girl, prompting her older brother to attack him. The brother was being held at the station for the murder on circumstantial evidence. Then Detective Lestrade comes to Sherlock and Watson and reveals that Staggerson, Drebber's secretary, was also found dead. And above him was written Roche, meaning revenge in German, the same word that was written on the wall in blood at Dreb's murder. With Staggerson, they find a small box containing 2 pills. One was harmless and one was poison. Holmes orders a cab and calls in the cabbie and promptly restrains him and says, "This is the murderer, Jefferson Hope." The story flashes back to Utah, Salt Lake Valley in 1847, where a man, John Ferrier, and a little girl named Lucy, the only survivors of a small party of pioneers, are rescued from death by a large party of Latter-day Saints led by Brigham Young. They are rescued, but they were given a condition. They must adopt and live under the Mormon faith. Years later, when Lucy is grown, she befriends and falls in love with the murderer, Jefferson Hope. However, Young forbids her from marrying anyone outside the faith. Ferrier, who at that point had adopted Lucy, had sworn never to marry his daughter to a Mormon and immediately sends word to Hope to come back. Lucy is given 1 month to choose between Hope and who Brigham Young wants her to marry, either Joseph Staggerson or Enoch Drebber, our 2 victims. They are from prominent Mormon families. When Hope returns to Salt Lake City, he tries to escape with Lucy, but he's intercepted. Ferrier is killed by Staggerson while Lucy is forcibly married to Drebber, and she dies a month later from a broken heart. Hope breaks into Drebber's heart the night before Lucy's funeral to kiss her body and remove her wedding ring. That was the ring that was found under Drebber's body. Hope tried to go back for it, but he was intercepted by the constable and he pretended to be drunk to get away. After Lucy dies, Hope swears revenge on both Drebber and Staggerson. He pursues them for over 20 years in the US, in France, in Russia, Denmark, and eventually to England. In London, Hope becomes a cabbie and he eventually finds them. After Drebber's altercation at the boarding house, Drebber gets into Hope's cab and spends several hours drinking. Eventually, Hope takes him to the house on Brixton Street, where Hope forces Drebber to recognize him and to choose between two pills, one which is harmless and the other poison. Drebber takes the poison pill, and as he died, Hope shows him Lucy's wedding ring. The excitement coupled with his aneurysm causes his nose to bleed. He uses the blood to write "Rush" on the wall above Drebber to confound the investigators. Stangerson, on learning of Drebber's murder, refuses to leave his hotel room. Hope climbs in through the window and gives Staggerson the same choice of pills, but he is attacked and nearly strangled by Staggerson and is forced to stab him in the heart. Hope dies from his aneurysm the night before he was to appear in court. Holmes reveals to Watson how he had deduced the identity of the murderer. Lestrange and Gretson are given full credit. Watson is outraged and states that Holmes should record the adventure and publish it. Holmes does not want to do that. He does not want the credit. Watson decides to do it himself. And that is how all the stories are written from Watson's perspective as he follows and investigates along with Sherlock Holmes and takes us on all these wonderful stories and tales and investigative processes and deductions that we all love Sir Arthur Conan Doyle for and our beloved Sherlock and Watson. Thank you so much for watching. We hope to have some more of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's novels to show you soon in these wonderful early editions.